Welcome to Wired to Hunt's Rut Fresh Radio, bringing you the latest reports from the Whitetail Woods. Presented by First Light, creating proven, versatile hunting apparel for the stand, saddle, or blind. First Light. Go farther, stay longer. And now, your hosts, KC Smith and Tyler Jones.
Welcome to Rut Fresh Radio, brought to you by First Light Gear. I'm your host, KC Smith. Guess what? Deer season is upon us. Excitement is high. However, the hot weather seems to be getting in the way for a lot of hunters around the country. This is Rut Fresh. Let's go. This is Rut Fresh Radio, brought to you by First Light Gear. This is the show that you remember for having the freshest whitetail information from around the country. We go in to all the nooks and crannies of all the whitetail woods and pull out some of the best reports for anyone and everyone who is interested in going out whitetail hunting. I'm your host, KC Smith, joined by Tyler Jones.
What's up?
And also we have got Mark Kenyon on the line of Wired to Hunt fame. Mark.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's good to be here.
Yeah, man.
It's we were just talking before we started recording that this might be like season 7 or 8 or 9 of Rut Fresh as a mini series of Wired Hunt. I don't know exactly what it is, but we've been doing this a long time, and I'm very excited that it's still going and that you guys are at the helm, helping keep this part of the ship afloat, because this is one of my personal favorite things we do every year. So. Thanks for being back, gentlemen.
Absolutely, man. It's a lot of fun. It's cool getting to talk to people around the country, and, of course, getting to talk to you from time to time to hear the Michigan viewpoint on things. And I think that was a question I wanted to ask you, thinking about, the history of Rut Fresh Radio. You remarked that this is one of your favorite things that comes out. Do you have a situation that you can remember where information given on Rut Fresh directly impacted a hunt and maybe brought you a buck?
That is a good question. And off the top of my head, I don't know if I could think of a specific situation where man, what I heard this day impacted my hunts, right away, and I killed the deer because of it. But it definitely is I don't listen to my own podcast, obviously, because I don't want to hear myself jabber and jump. I'll take that back. I occasionally do re-listen to really old archival ones, and I just fast forward the intro where I talk for a long time because I want to hear just whoever that guest is. I don't remember the stuff. But in the season, I'm not listening to new stuff, of course. So what I do listen to I do like to listen to every Rut Fresh Radio, because you're hearing from 4 or 5 different people across the country. They've got different ideas. They're seeing things that maybe I'll be seeing soon, or maybe I just saw and I'm curious to compare notes. So while I can't think of a specific example right now, I can tell you 2,000% it has helped me. It has kept me, keeping ideas fresh in my mind, or gave me a new idea, or pointed me in a direction that maybe just got me thinking about something that I was able to apply later down the road. So yeah, the idea of what we wanted this thing to be, however many years ago it was that we started this, mini series, it has absolutely become that thing, the thing that I want. It's every week I like to text my buddies or call a couple friends, say, hey, what are you seeing? What are you doing? How's that cold front impacting you? Or what do you think about this moon phase? Or man, how's the drought been impacting your deer sightings, right? I'm sure you guys have got a bunch of buddies that you're kind of, jawing with back and forth and comparing notes. And this is a way to do that, but on a weekly scale with a much wider network. So we all are really lucky that we get to tap into this, I think, every week. And, I'm certainly enjoying and benefiting from it. So what was it like, if you don't mind me stealing your thunder and asking you guys a question now, what was the experience like for you guys last year? Because for years, right, you guys were occasionally guests on Rut Fresh Radio and sharing what you were seeing with people when Spencer called you. And maybe you listened to some episodes of Rut Fresh Radio back in the day and used that to get some ideas. What was the experience like last year, being put into the driver's seat, and all of a sudden you were hosting the mini series, you were, asking people questions? Did that ended up, did you learn more because of that? Or did you just glaze over and forget it all? What was that like?
No, I think it was a learning experience, man. I feel like So there was this weird thing that happened, which you actually, I think this was off air, but we were talking about some 1 week stuff, and you kind of had the same sentiment where we were out in the field like the first week in November, and there was some pretty sluggish movement. And if you were just hunting with your buddies in a certain area of the U.S. and you saw that sluggish movement in early November, you might just be like, "Oh, they're nocturnal. It's too hot, whatever." Or just whatever. You may not really understand this, but I mean, legitimately, one thing we learned last year through doing Rut Fresh was that a big portion of the U.S. actually had, like a late rut. I mean, it was legitimately a week behind or more in a lot of places. It seemed like, across the board, we heard that was the case. And I don't know, there's so many variables, right? Like it could be, a million different things from weather, temperature to moon or whatever. But, and we travel a lot too. So we were seeing that in multiple states, multiple areas, but to be able to have those guys say, "Hey, for some reason, the teens of November were way better than the first, 10 days. And it just it makes you feel like you're a little less on an island. And then, I also think that there's a huge inspiration factor here on this podcast where it's you get so wrapped up in work a lot of times that you just kind of forget to check the weather and be excited about what's coming. And then all of a sudden you're working, you're building a house, you're a framer, whatever you might be. You got the podcast going on Rut Fresh and somebody's, in your neck of the woods or where you're going to end up being in November. And they're like, well, next, you ask them a scale of 1 to 10, what's next week look like for you? And like, well, there's a cold front coming in, and all of a sudden you're just hype and you start making plans, and it is inspirational where you want to get in the woods because you figure out maybe things are happening, you got too busy for a little bit there, or even just a guy may be like, "Hey," and you kind of alluded to this earlier, but "Hey, since this is happening, you can kill a deer in this way," and you didn't think about that until then. And all of a sudden, you're like, "Yeah, let's try that next week," Yeah.
Well, you guys have talked about this for years. The benefit of having a hunting buddy with you who just is throwing new ideas at you, right? Just to trigger different thoughts, or that you're hearing what they're doing, and that makes you think, "Oh, maybe I should just rethink." Get out of your own little tunnel vision a little bit. I've always felt like this podcast kind of functions in that kind of way, because every single week you're getting 5 different hunting buddies' ideas for the week or perspective from that week. And it's the same kind of thing. It can just get you out of your own head and get some new stuff into the mix. And that sometimes is all you need to get pointed in the right direction. So that's a long-winded way of saying, I'm excited for what's coming this week,
dude,
and all these next couple months.
Yeah, man, I think that hype is a big part of what makes this fun.
Guarantee you, it's the best part of it,
dude. Oh man, it's right now we're on the cusp of whitetail hunting. Some people are even already doing it, and we'll talk to those guys here in a minute. But there's this aspect of how Tyler was talking about around the country. There's also this upwelling of just all of us people who are deer hunters that are all just kind of starting to get excited. And one of the things that I noticed last year was that people would and I'm not because I think that people's ratings are their ratings. I don't try to read too much into it, right? But you hardly ever have anybody who's "Oh, it wasn't very good. It's a 2." They'll be "Oh, it's not very good. It's a 5." And it's that's because you love to deer hunt, man. Even when it's not good, it's still pretty good, So it's a little bit encouraging when you start hearing those numbers, because I can remember doing this when people it was okay. I'll give it a 7. I was dang, 7's pretty good, man.
Yeah, I remember saying that too. I feel like there were a couple times, Casey, where you were trying to get people to be a little more realistic. You're come on, really? Is this really a 6.8?
Yeah, maybe. I try to be a realist, but man, that internal optimist just shines through sometimes. So I appreciate it. So I think that's why we ask the questions and don't just ask for the ratings, right? So you get a little bit more insight into that stuff. So
right, I love that. Just you get the color, you get a prediction of what they're expecting this coming week or what they just experienced last week. But then also I've always found my favorite thing is hearing a specific person's particular ideas for how they dealt with this set of circumstances. What did you think about this very specific thing? Or, I love the details in this show. A lot of long podcasts, like my regular shows, right? You can talk to someone for an hour and a half and you're kind of all over the place and there's a lot of stories and yada, yada, yada. And that's great. But what I've always liked about Rut Fresh is like when you can be like, man, all right, there was cold weather 3 days ago that hit Nebraska. How did that impact things for you in the eastern part of the state? Like I can like those very specific things just shine a different kind of light that you can then apply to, your own hunts. So yeah. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of applying things to your own hunts, Mark, if I remember right, we did this intro episode last year, and you kind of had a theme for this season that was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially it's like a back to basics or maybe. I don't know how to say this, but not
core values, like what? Yeah, what getting back to like why you do this?
Yeah, not trying too hard for the wrong reasons, right? And it seems like that really paid off for you. I mean, you had a great season last year. You killed some really nice bucks, man. So congrats on that. And so looking forward to this year, are you continuing on and trying to kind of expand upon that approach, or do you look at this season differently?
So I'm trying to avoid the sophomore slump. Mm-hmm. So if last year, like I was, my hunting buddies, like another group chat called it fun season, like hashtag fun season, whenever they're like jokingly referring to like my year, like what I was trying to do, just get back to having fun and everything. Mm-hmm. So fun season was a huge success last year. But I can already feel like some of the old, just things about me, like kind of coming back in. Like I can see myself like, oh man, would be really kind of fun to hold out for that like big giant, maybe that one buck only. Or maybe I got to go to Illinois because I didn't get after like a really certain specific kind of deer, like all these things that, I like to do that are fun to do, but could like put, more pressure or more whatever on me. I want to like maintain some like moderation across what I do instead of becoming a freak, which I think has always been like one of my kryptonites. So I want to maintain the fun season spirit and not fall back into my old ways. That's the biggest thing, is like not get too hung up on any one thing too much. Just have fun with it. And I mean, that's really it. I mean, I felt really good about last year. What I guess I realized though is like not every year is going to go that well. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, I've constantly reminded myself this, past years, like you can do everything right, and you're still going to have some of those years where, things just don't fall into place the right way. So last year I did some things right and things did fall my way. This year I might do it all right, and the cards might be different. So I need to make sure like I'm okay with that. But all that said, I've been organizing my hunts and my plans and stuff around getting some more time with friends and family while still doing some great hunts. So I'm really excited about that. And, this is really everything that I had last year going into it. It's just trying to maintain it this year. I'm not changing the script. I just want to like make sure it wasn't a fluke. I want to show some consistency in that, continue to kind of mature as a hunter, enjoy it, really keep that good thing going. And, we'll see where the cards fall. But yeah, it's a very long-winded way of saying I'm excited to have fun. I'm excited to do some hunting with my dad, excited to do some more hunting with our buddy Hilliard. I'm excited to get after some local deer, but also do a couple fun trips. And, man, it's almost here. I leave for my first trip next week. So I'm stoked.
Man, that's cool. Your first trip is next week. If people are listening the week this comes out, there is a awesome hunt from last year. That's one of the bucks we were alluding to that just came out for 1 week in November, right? Yeah. So they need to go check that out. If they haven't, we'll put a link to that in the description as well, so that they can take a look at that. It sounds like you've got some new territory opened up to you there as well. So y'all kind of got a little bit of excitement going there. Tyler and I just got back from a little bit of a trip, but haven't got to do any whitetail hunting yet. I think our first whitetail hunt's going to be at the end of September, and we're pretty stoked for that. In fact, that's like one of my favorite times of the year to hunt. Not everywhere has a season opened, but it's like you still have that summer pattern going, and those deer are just so predictable. So I'm pretty excited about the whitetail season, man. I think that we're all slated for something good to happen. Now, in what amounts, who knows, right? Because like you said, the interesting thing about deer is that no matter how many variables you think you control, the deer still do what they want to do. And I think that's why we're able to talk to 4 people around the country every week and get, interesting takes, because Tyler and I were talking about it a while ago, man. The neat thing about whitetail is they're all different. Like you can look at a mule deer that is a big one, but it looks like all the other big ones usually. It's a 4x4 that has a big old frame. Or you look at an elk, like a 6x6 is a big one, and they're awesome, and they're one of my favorite creatures. But whitetail are so unique. Tyler's got a bunch of deer on the wall right now that we're looking at, and not one of them looks like the other one. And they come from all over the country. There's so many different hunting opportunities for them and so many different seasons that stretch from, July into February, right? And that's really what makes this thing feel like a big old campfire, right? Because we're all doing this kind of our unique way in different parts of the country, but we're all hunting the same critter, and it makes things very exciting.
And it's next to college football this time of year. It's the best dang thing out there.
Golly, man, Sparty must have had a good first week.
It was okay, but I'm still hyped about it. It was, there's something to be desired from the Spartans this year, but I'm maintaining hope for mediocrity. Will be our.
They're not sitting in prime territory, if you know what I mean. So
no, not this year, but we'll get by. Fun season, boys.
Okay, so how many deer are you going to shoot this year? How many bucks?
Oh, dude. 2 is probably realistic. I'd be happy if I can get 2 good ones on the ground. I could shoot up to 4. I think I've got 4 up to. I think I'll have 5 buck tags probably when it's all said and done. But being realistic, 2 would be pretty solid. Certainly possible more, but I'm going to try to manage my expectations and say 2 across all those trips. That'll at least happen.
That's the most conservative thing I've heard you say, Mark.
Casey, you're rubbing off on my tail.
Well, I'm going to kill 5, Mark, not to try to one-up you, but I'm doing my optimistic thing this year. I gotta do it, because if I'm going to hang out with KC,
that's right,
you can't do anything but.
Mark, I think you're going to kill more than that, just so you know. But I appreciate your conservatism there, and you're going to have an awesome season. Tyler, 5 is a good number. That's a good over and under.
That's what number I was in high school.
Was it?
Yep.
That's
you guys fling them. Like, I believe it when you say 5. You're gonna make it happen.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have shoot at. Shoot at might be like 12. So.
It's a numbers game.
That's right, man. You have enough arrows in the air, one of them's going to land sooner or later.
It's like a shotgun.
Oh,
just joking, everybody. Just joking. But if you did listen to Mark's podcast recently, we did say Tyler and I both are confident at 50 yards in the certain situation. So, that's not for everyone, and not every 50-yard opportunity is one you should take. But, under the right conditions. I think I put my over and under at 6, being the optimist I am.
Let's go.
Now, we have a couple more draws to come out still to maybe might help out with some tag allocation there. And
Florida draws.
Yeah, Florida. Yeah. But, man, I think that it is – I shot 5 last year. And I'm not trying to
November 9th.
That's right. I'm not trying to brag, because the last one was on November 8th, and then I hunted like 2 months after that and didn't kill one. So it was kind of front loaded. I'd like to spread them out a little bit more this year. And
yeah, I believe in you. I do believe in you, Casey. Like, I gotta say, I go back to defend my prediction.
Okay.
2 of my big films that I'm doing this year aren't even me hunting. It's me mentoring other people. So I'm actually not even going to be with the trigger for a lot of the season parts. So I'm actively handicapping myself, keeping me from being at the same level as you, Casey. So I want to make sure I know what you're thinking in the back of your mind. You're saying that $5-6 and you're getting taller and taller and taller. So I just got to make sure you remember that, if I weren't mentoring, it'd be right up there 6-7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. Well,
right?
You can count those. So let's go with since you are the fresh maker, Mr. Minto himself. Are you? So if you count those, let's just say, how many bucks are you going to be at the helm for, or the trigger man?
Mentors shoot those a lot of times, or
that's
mentees.
True. That's true. Yeah.
Well, I think the 2 new hunters I'm with, I think one of the 2 will shoot a deer during the early October hunt I'm doing with them. And then I'm guiding my dad, basically trying to help him get a deer at the end of October. And I'm feeling really good about the stuff we've done to have that ready for them. So yeah, I think we'll get 2 more across that. And then I am doing actually some more mentor hunts in December, and I'm sure we're going to kill a doe or 2 during that thing. So, and if we're including does, I'm going to kill at least 2 to 4 does. So let's give me my 2 bucks, my 4 does, and my 3 mentees. So now we're talking 9. So I'm claiming credit for 9 this year.
Let's go, dude. I'm all about it.
So yeah, there we go.
Nice.
So numbers are back.
Okay, so guiding your dad, what kind of fee are you getting for that? Or is that just
that's just like I'll get a better Christmas present maybe this year.
Gotcha. Probably a fly rod or something. Huh?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, hey, that's the best you could ask for.
Dude, I hear the White River fly rods are the way to go, man. I don't know if you've ever seen
Is that
those.
the ticket?
Yeah, you should check them out.
I will.
It's good stuff. Anyway, this week, so we're going to talk to you and get some reports from you throughout the season from different states. So I'm pretty excited about that because you obviously have a lot of different things going on this year, and you're going to see a lot of deer hunting, a lot of deer woods. But this week, in particular, there's only so many states open, and so we've got Alex Comstock from North Dakota. Mark Haslam from South Carolina, which is a muggy place to be right now, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Chad Rice from Tennessee, and Reed Strobel from Kentucky, a good buddy of ours. So that's kind of what we're going to look at this week, and we're going to switch it around and get some different reports next week. You'll be moving pretty quick into different states, so I'm really looking forward, being that I don't have an early season or early September hunt this year for whitetails. I'm really it's going to be making me itch, if you know what I mean.
I do. You're going to be struggling these next couple of weeks while you're hearing about all these deer hunts. I already feel bad that I'm not out there for like that September 1 hunt. I can't imagine having to wait till the end of the month.
Well, next year we're taking you no matter what.
Let's do it.
Sounds like a plan. I'm excited. Yeah. Cool, dude. Well, let's hear the reports from the guys around the country. And Mark, we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
On the phone, I've got Mark Haslam. He is in South Carolina. Been hunting some deer. Mark, what's happening, dude?
Not much. Just went through a hurricane, so that's passed, and I'm back in the woods trying to get after some bucks.
That's cool. Does that hurricane affect kind of just what goes on normally there? Like, is that going to change the way deer act?
Well, what it did was it pretty much came through all day yesterday, and so the day before, they were the evening before and the morning of and the morning after, they were hunkered down pretty tight. So I'm hoping that these next couple of days we got some cooler temps. They should be out feeding pretty hard.
Yeah, that's cool. So what have you been doing to target bucks? You have a really early season, right? So you've been hunting for a little while.
That's right. Yeah, we opened in the lower half of South Carolina August 15th, and it's bucks only. So we legally have to target bucks this time of year until September 15th. So what I'm doing is either keying in on destination food sources. In the evenings, I'll get close to them, not on them, but just a little bit off, trying to catch them, trying to cut them off. In the mornings, I will climb usually right outside of some bedding and try to catch them coming back into bed.
Are there any native or natural, at least, food sources that you're keying in on at all right now?
Yeah, we've gotten so much rain in the South this summer that and it's still rolling through with this hurricane. So really, if someone has any kind of early successional growth, ragweed, briars, blackberries, anything like that, just walk through it, take a look at it, and see if there's any kind of snippage there with any kind of browse. So yeah, it's the deer right now, they are absolutely hitting ag, but a lot of our corn is being harvested right now. So if they were going to corn, they're probably shifting over to peanuts or soybeans like that. Okay.
So, and I'm guessing some of that early successional growth, there's going to be probably bedding in those areas too, some, huh? So I would suppose, since you said you're hunting mornings near bedding, you're kind of catching them maybe browsing before they get back to bed and then close to bed there. And, are you able to pretty consistently get in before they're in those areas in the morning?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get in and get set up like 30, 45 minutes before first light. But what I've found is that a lot of time bucks, they will linger a little bit longer rather than like doe groups this time of year. Doe groups will a lot of times be the first back into bed, and bucks will kind of linger around. But if you have some thin and open pines or some timber that's been burned or has some early successional growth, you've got cover for them to kind of linger through, finish up browsing before they go back to bed. If you've got some stands that are wide open with very little and you can just kind of see right through it, they're going to be probably skirting through those pretty quickly at last light.
Gotcha.
So with the hurricane moving through and velvet starting to come off around the country, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you predict buck movement to be like over the next week?
I think it's going to probably remain how it has been, about maybe a 6 or 7. Not really.
It's pretty good.
Still in that summer. Yeah, I mean, they're still in that summer pattern of just bedding and eating, and that's really all they're doing. Every day on my cell cams, I'm getting like a new buck every day that's shed as velvet. So we're definitely more than half our bucks have been shed of velvet. So there's still some paired up in bachelor groups, and pretty soon they're going to start shifting into that next pre-rut phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exciting time of year, man. Velvet comes off, you actually know what you got, and can look forward to some good days to come. Mark, thank you for the report, dude.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
All right, on the phone now, I've got Chad Rice from Cruiser Saddles. Chad, what's been going on, man?
Oh, not a lot, man. Just trying to stay in some AC and beat this heat in Tennessee right now.
Yeah, it's hot, but ain't Texas hot or nothing down there. We know what it's like up there. I mean, it's hot.
Y'all got that dry heat. We got that wet, steamy heat.
See, I don't know. I feel like we're closer to the Gulf than y'all are, but who knows, man?
Might be. I don't know.
It is dry right now, I can tell you that. I mean, you can't walk without kicking up a dust storm where we're at. We need rain bad. But
I know it, man.
So you've been out hunting a little bit. You guys have a really early season, or at least it starts pretty early, and have a chance to get velvet. In fact, one of our buddies, Hunter, went up there and made a video with you last year on a velvet buck. But you've been out doing the thing, man. What have you been keying on and what you've been seeing?
Yeah, man. So Tennessee's got an early velvet season. It's just 3 days long. It was last weekend, and unfortunately we had a heat wave, and the average temp all weekend was probably like between 95 and 100 degrees. So
that's hot.
Yeah, I mean, we hunted, me and the guys in the shop there, we hunted all weekend, and not much to speak for. It was just, super hot. We were having deer on camera. The week before, and then this heat wave came through and pretty much shut them down, man.
So were they still showing, because you've been sending me those pictures, have they been showing up like after dark now, or did they just change their patterns, or what do you think?
I feel like they just changed their patterns. Where we were hunting them at and where we're getting them on camera was on top of these ridges and stuff, and there's not much water up here, and we're pretty close to the lake where we're hunting, so I feel like they dropped down in these cool draws and kind of hung out by some water.
So if you were going to target bucks like right now, would you still say like water is the key?
I would say water is a big factor right now, for sure. It is, like I said, it's super hot. It's cooled off since last weekend, but it's still average like 85 to 90 degree days. So water, I think, is a big factor right now.
Yeah. So what do you think buck movement looks like going forward for like the next week? Are we looking at still more of that just, nighttime movement, waiting on some cooler temps?
Yeah, man. From what I'm seeing on camera, we're getting a lot of nocturnal movement, a lot of bucks moving that night. And, we can't hunt again until the end of September. But, if you're in Kentucky or anywhere else that opens early, I would definitely say water, try to maybe get close to bedding, and that's your best bet, I think, right now.
What do you think the movement is on a scale of 1 to 10 for bucks?
Probably Probably around a 5, I would say. I would say it's even lower during the day, maybe early morning hours, late evening. They're still going to move a little bit, but, like I said, movement on our cameras has definitely slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, a good cold front this time of year can do a lot, but if you don't get that, man, it can be a tough time of year, So,
absolutely,
depending on where you're at in the country and what hurricanes are happening or whatever else, that's kind of the main thing that can adjust your climate and make for a better hunt. So, Chad, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you doing this with us this week, and hopefully we'll get you back on when the rut is kicking or something like that again.
Absolutely, boys. I appreciate it as always.
All right, now on the phone, I've got Reed Strobel. He's been out in Kentucky doing a little hunting, public land, got some private land stuff going too, I guess, in the area. Man, what has been going on?
How's it going, y'all? It's hot. It's hot, and we're waiting on the cold fronts. That warm weather from down south has made it up, but we've been sitting around waiting.
We've been sending it y'all's way all summer. I don't know why it hasn't left, but maybe it's just like it's like a fire, man. Once the hotter it gets, the more you can feel it from distance, So that's what y'all are getting right now.
Absolutely.
But
we're getting repercussions from y'all.
Yeah. So you did some hunting this weekend in Kentucky, man. What was it like?
Yeah, yes, sir. So the opener partnered up with a buddy, and we decided for some reason to go a mile in on public into a semi-new area. We knew it from turkey hunting, but didn't have much luck. It's been warm. So opener was on Saturday. Thursday, we had a south wind roll in, bringing warm weather. The wind switched to an east Friday, which would have been awesome to hunt. But Saturday, it was hot, south wind, just not much going on, real humid, high of in the mid-80s that day, low in the, mid-60s in the morning, which was nice, but it warmed up quick. So Had no luck there, and had deer. We blew one out early. This time of year is so tough on that morning hunt. Mm-hmm. So that's it's kind of what we ran into on the public.
Yeah.
So what are you actually targeting? Are you trying to go in and find some food sources, or are you going to bedding areas? Like, why'd you go that far into the woods?
Yeah, so the goal was actually on that area to get close to private. There's a couple ridge tops up there, and we had water just basically on the other side of the ridge from us. So we're trying to get them going from the private, feeding in some ag, hit that water source, go to bed. And I think we kind of bumped some out getting in there early because that warm front came in, but they're on. The acorns started dropping. They're not raining yet. I haven't found any, real hot oaks, one of those Warren Womack, feed trees, but we are looking for them because they're going to be on those acorns here
for sure. So, you as far as like the patterns you're hunting right now and what you're going to be going in hunting in the future, is there going to be a change here, like in the next week, as to what you're going to be hunting over, or is it the same?
Yeah, so similar on the private, things change a little bit. We are allowed to have mineral sites and feed in Kentucky. So on my private, I've got some feed out, and on my cameras, when we have those north wind days, I've got my cameras lighting up quite a bit. I actually went in, hunted the private the next day on a hard south wind, and it was tough. It ended up kind of being a slack wind. There was not much going on at all. Thermals were all over. It was just swirly. It was no good. Mm-hmm. Saw a young bachelor group on the way out. They're still hanging around, but I've got some deer in hardhorn already on camera, have some in velvet. It seems the more mature bucks are starting to split out of their bachelor groups. But my target going forward is still going to be based around ag and trying to find a hot feed tree, because that's, I think, where those mature bucks are going to be.
Yeah, man, that's sounds like an encouraging week coming up, so that's good. If you had to predict the buck movement on a scale of 1 to 10 for the upcoming week, what would you give it?
Yeah, so Wednesday I've got a nice thunderstorm afternoon coming. It's going to switch to a north wind. We're dropping down into the degrees. It's going to get down to the 70s. We got some nights in the 50s coming up this weekend. Big north wind. So I think this upcoming weekend is going to be killer. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is going to be really good. I would say movement-wise, it's going to be, probably like a 6 or 7, just because of that switch. We're going from the south wind, hot. It's going to change. I think really it's going to be pretty good. I got high hopes for this weekend.
Yeah, for sure, man. September cold fronts can be deadly, man. I think I've seen in the past where people have really done well on those things. So that's a hopeful and optimistic prediction there, man. And I'm very glad that you gave it to us. I appreciate your time today, Reed, and I hope you have a killer week next week, man.
Of course, appreciate y'all. Hopefully, we'll get one on the ground. I'm trying to kill my first deer with a traditional bow.
All right.
So we're getting after any of them. They all better duck fast, But we are excited. It should be good. So I appreciate y'all.
Good Providence, young man. All right, on the phone now, I've got Alex Comstock from Whitetail DNA. What's going on, man?
Not much. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. It's a fairly cool day here. It might even be hotter where you're at than it is here in Texas today. We got some rain and a little cool front. So 93 here. What are you looking at?
Oh, you might have us beat today. We're at 88 right now, but it's cooler today than it's been the last handful of days.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool, man. So with the last few days being hot and then now a colder day, what's the movement been like?
Yeah, so far it's been pretty bad. I'd give it, I don't know, like a 3 out of 10. Mm-hmm. It's been, we've had quite a few guys in camp, so we've been able to cover quite a few different areas, and we're spread out. And from probably the furthest people away from each other, probably an hour and a half away, like we're covering ground. And but we had one guy kill last night, 2 people shot bucks. So, I mean, starting to pick up a little bit, which is nice.
That's cool, man. So if you're hunting early season type patterns, does the heat almost increase the efficiency on that, or would you like to see the cooler weather come in?
I mean, there's probably no world in which I'd prefer 100-degree temps. Yeah, I'm taking the cooler temps every day of the week. I mean, it's funny. Last year out here, opening week, we had a huge cold snap right at the beginning of season, and I think the movement kind of shut off. And then this year we had a huge heat wave, and I just wanted it to be consistent temperatures to keep these bucks on their patterns. But just can't seem to catch a break with the weather, I guess.
Yeah. So do you have anything that you feel like is kind of patterned right now?
I've got one buck. I mean, there's a couple bucks that we've got daylighting every so often, and there's one buck, probably a 3 or 4 year old 10-pointer that's daylighted 3 of the last 4 nights in the last hour. And so he's also been there a bunch in the middle of the night. And so I'm hoping with the cold front that's upcoming the next couple of days here that he shows up and I can lace an arrow through him.
What kind of pattern is he on?
So he's coming out of a standing cornfield into the edge of a bean field with some oaks around, dropping acorns pretty much.
Oh, that sounds picturesque.
Yeah, that does, man. That standing corn is always tricky for me, man. I don't love being around it much because you have deer that'll bed in it and you have deer that'll feed in it, and if there's a pivot there, they'll water in it, so it can get real tricky sometimes to figure out the movement patterns.
It's tough. I mean, I had one of my top shooters after the other day, and it's right along the edge of a standing cornfield, and I had one deer I could just hear slowly moving through the corn, and I just had that gut feeling it was him, but never got to see what deer it was. And never showed himself.
That hurts.
So when you're in North Dakota, the days are pretty long still this time of year. What time do you have to leave your stand to go play a complete 18, and then what time do you have to be back in your stand for the evening hunt?
Well, we only did 9.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Hey, there is a little bit of seriousness to that question. It is kind of funny that you're getting some golf in. I appreciate that. But, in all seriousness, you don't want to go to the stand and just sweat your tail off all day. What time are you getting in there for an evening hunt?
Yeah, we're going to leave today, maybe 4:30. By the time we're in and set and ready to rock, it's about 5:30, and sunset's at like 8:15. Mm-hmm. So it's, we're getting, I mean, most of these deer, if they're hitting on camera in daylight, it's typically in the last, 15 to 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. We really don't have, but in contrary, which kind of contradicts what I'm saying, both guys that shot bucks last night killed, or shot bucks at like 7 and 7:15, so a full hour before sunset.
Mm-hmm. So going forward with the weather change that just happened, or any other factors you may have, are you going to focus on the same patterns that you've been seeing on cameras or when you're scouting, or are you going to change things up?
We're going to stick with it and just essentially hope that this, we're going from, it was 102 yesterday, whereas tomorrow the high is, I think, 64. So we're just going to hope that gets those deer up moving a little bit earlier and kind of hunt the same patterns, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, if you're going to rate the buck movement going forward this week from a scale of 1 to 10, what would it be?
I'm going to give her a 6. I'm trying to get over a 5. And if it's a 6, I'm going to be a happy camper. Let's put it that way.
Nice, dude. Well, hey, I know that you have a lot of history up there in North Dakota, and you kind of got it figured out, so I'm rooting for you. I hope you have a really good hunt this evening, man.
Hey, appreciate it. Hopefully, I'm hoping the same thing.
Thanks for listening to the Rut Fresh Radio Report. You can hear more up-to-date information from Casey and myself on our podcast. It's called the Element Podcast, if you're not familiar with it. We also do a weekly update on what's going on in our life, plus, anything else that we want to visit. So, Casey, what else we got?
There's also Mark's Big Nebraska Buck Week on 1 week in November. Day 2 of 1 week comes out this week, so go check that out. We put a link in the description for that. And thank y'all so much for listening. We really appreciate the support. And until next week, y'all keep it fresh. This is Rut Fresh.